I didn't make it into an IIT, didn't clear the JEE examination. So probably that was a turning point. Got to understand the link between, building software locally and privately and open sourcing it. The idea of building mobile apps is something that stuck to me from a very, early point in time. I was just obsessed about open source in general. Whatever I was doing was pretty alien to the peers around me sitting in the campus. But that didn't demotivate me. So one of such opportunity that I stumbled upon was the Google Summer of Code. Like I took all the learnings, like, companies used to open up these fake internship posts, get work done by students and exploited them in, various ways. So that was a very tragic point. I would say if you are really obsessed about something, you would find time to do it. So I belong from a tier 3 college. And in my first year of college, I got accepted into Google Summer of Code. I'm Jaideep Prasad. I'm an software engineer by profession, but an entrepreneur by accident. I've worked at companies like Vedantu, Geo, Trell as a software engineer in the past. I've led engineering teams at companies like Curie Money. I happened to build my own company called Mentro for over the last 3 years or so. Of course, I didn't make it into an IIT, right? I didn't clear the JEE examination. So there's a similar examination called the WBJE, which is for the state level, entrance for, good colleges, government colleges and stuff like that, right? So I appeared for that, happened to clear that. I got a good rank. There were two options for me. I could either go to this college in Jalpaiguri, which is the Government College of Engineering in Jalpaiguri. And the other option was I could stay close to my home and take this option of the same government college but in Salt Lake. I took that option. I decided to stay close to my home and sort of travel, during my college days. So my first day of college, I still remember. So being again very transparent, like of course as you can expect, it being a government college, right? There were students from all backgrounds. There wasn't any sort of culture, if I can put it that way, right? Of course, people weren't interested that much into technology. Everyone wanted to, get good grades in their semesters. So that was the culture, right? People didn't think out of the box. People were like, very orthodox. So probably, it made me question myself on the very first day. Is this the place where I want to be, or I want to, spend the next 4 years of my life? So majorly what people around me were talking about was the placements. Apparently, everyone and anyone I saw around me was in the college to get a good placement. I was not very sure about what a placement means at that point in time. Later I realized is essentially a company coming to your campus and giving you a job offer, right? As simple as that. So soon I realized that there weren't a lot of good companies coming into our campus, right? Being like, of course, it being a tier 3 college, right? You don't expect a lot of like the Amazons or the Googles of the world, the companies which you dream of while you are a kid or like even before entering college. Like of course like any student or any child who is interested into technology probably thinks of, doing a job at Google, right? Or being the next Google CEO, like as childish it might seem, right? But that's probably every, technology enthusiast student's dream. I had a similar dream. I wanted to get into a good company. I wanted to meet cool people. I wanted to work with cool people, right? So yeah, peers around me didn't talk much about that, which I was interested in. They were majorly focused on, getting that good job offer, whatever the company might be, which, college brings in. And yeah, like focusing on getting good grades in their semesters. That's essentially it. Yet, of course, there were, few people who wanted to do something out of the box. Let me put it that way. Actually, a very interesting incident happened in the first week of my college days. Some of the seniors just came walked through the door of our classroom, and they were apparently launching the first tech club from the college, and probably it was one of my lucky days. The college literally had no culture before this, but these seniors apparently wanted to do something about it. So there was a lead of this club, right, which I really vibed with, right. He was really interested and passionate about technology in general. He also had gotten this Google scholarship, which Google was giving out during that time. It was something related to a nano degree program, which was again an Android developer scholarship program in collaboration with a company called Udacity. So that person probably inspired me, since I had no clue of what to expect from this college I am in, and I was literally clueless. I was literally going back back to my home from college, like thinking like where I had taken admission of, like, is this the place I want to spend the next 4 years of my life, right? Questioning myself again and again. But probably this incident made me realize the possibility, right? Okay, like there's at least one person, even if not manifold, there's at least one person who has done something, right, who is willing to do something. So it made me realize about the possibility again. So I went on to talk to this person. He discussed with me what kind of scholarship he has gotten from Google, right, what exactly he does. So that was the point probably I came to know about this term called coding, right. So till this point I was completely unaware of what coding actually means in a very real life scenario, right. Of course, in school days, I'm sure like everyone has done some sort of programming. So back in the school days, we used to call it programming, right. Like we had books of programming with Java, programming with C++. So we wrote a lot of programs to print patterns, to take a lot of to do a lot of mathematical calculations and stuff like that, right. But we never really understood the practical significance of it. So this person probably made me realize the practical significance of what coding is, right, and even introducing me to this term called coding, right, because earlier than that I was only aware of something called programming, and you can write programs and stuff like that. So probably that was a turning point, right, in early on in my college days, right, making me realize the potential and trying to research about things. I think early on as a student, one thing which is very underrated is your self research. How much interested are you about the possibilities? Once you see a door, right, how many more doors are you willing to open around you? So probably that one turning point made me go on the internet, research about all the potential possibilities that there are for a college student, right. So I came to know about a lot of these internship programs that these different companies run. So like Google has its own internship program called the STEP internship program, Amazon has its own internship program, right, Meta has its own internship program. So it made me realize that okay, I can actually work at these companies even while being in college, and that too the college name is not really a criteria. Exploring these possibilities really opened me up to this world. Going forward, whatever I happened to did after that, right, I think this was really a turning point. So while I was exploring these possibilities or these doors that I was talking about, right, so one such door was this term called open source, right. So once I was reading about this term called open source, I didn't really know what that means. While I was exploring these potential opportunities, there was one blog where as people were talking about, like there were a lot of software engineers, right, who were talking about how you build software, how you can publish software. So in that blog there was a mention of this term called open source. So I started researching about it. I started seeing what exactly this is. So I landed on platforms like GitHub. So that was probably the first platform which gave me a little idea of how you can put out software in the public. Yeah, even though I didn't know how to build that software, but just by looking at that website, I came to know that okay, people are doing it. Even people from India, and irrespective from where you belong, you can actually build software and put it out in the public for the world to see.
And this is 2017. The information for GitHub is relatively smaller in India.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was around 2018. This was just after I got into college. This was around 2018, and the entire open source culture, or the whatever, the entire open source culture was very new to India as a whole, for sure.
Perfect. And when you got to know about the open source, you started learning about what it is. क्या पता चला आपको? What did you get to know?
For sure. So one very basic statement I got to know is open source is nothing but public software. As simple as that. Like anything and everything you build, if you put it out on the internet for the world to see, of course platforms like GitHub are a medium to do that. But even as simple as like if you just record a video, or just package your code and upload it on Google Drive, just giving an example, you are open sourcing your software. GitHub works as a marketplace where of course a lot of people are literally selling their software, or putting out their software, if I can put it in that way. But yeah, it's a portfolio of software that you build. So that essentially encouraged me to even now try to look for how do I build this software.
And why did open source intrigue you, jabki there are multiple other options that you can look into?
I think open source in general gives you a great playground to learn software development. So you can think of it in this fashion. It's like doing a job or an internship, but not really earning money, but learning exactly the equivalent amount of skills.
Okay.
So that's how I judged open source at that point in time, and that's probably something even which I emphasize today as well whenever I speak to anyone. It's literally a playground for you. So probably that one point intrigued me, and I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn software development, because I literally, as I mentioned, I literally didn't know about coding, and I didn't know how you can build software using coding. It felt a great opportunity for me. Now I took a step back and started learning on how do I actually build software.
We can go into it. You can talk about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to inculcate how did you manage your college with this, but that will come.
So now that the problem statement in front of me was how do I build something. So as I was researching about how do I build software, so I came upon this channel of Google that was the Android developers teams channel. So there people who build Android applications from any part of the country in India, if they solved a real use case, they are solving some rural problem or some societal problem via mobile application, the Google's US team is flying out from their office and felicitating them, giving them a certificate, and recording videos, recording their stories. So that was pretty empowering for me. I wanted that, and probably the idea of building mobile apps is something that stuck to me from a very early point in time. Probably the major reason of it is like how accessible mobile apps are. Like of course you can build a lot of cool desktop applications, a lot of cool games and stuff like that, but it's probably very limited to a particular workplace or a particular PlayStation or something like that. Whereas a mobile app is something which is very handy, it's essentially in everyone's hands. You can be at any place, but you can still access this software that you built. So that's why building a mobile app was very intriguing to me. So that's exactly how I picked up this tech stack or domain of Android development. So from a very early on, I started researching about Android development, how you can learn about it, right? So there were a lot of free resources Of course, Android being a tech stack by Google, so Google had had written multiple articles, multiple technical documentations. There were YouTube videos teaching you doing Android development, and there were also a lot of companies hosting courses on Android development, right? So there was this company called Udacity. So they had their nano degree program, which was a free course only for very selected students under a scholarship. So yeah, there were no such criterias. Yeah, you answer these questions, you showcase your problem solving ability, and they were just rolling out scholarships. And even trust me, during that point in time, probably not a lot of people were interested even into something like an Android development. So I was probably among the very early adopters during that time. But yeah, like essentially that once I got into that scholarship, I started looking at those videos and how you are able to build these mobile applications by just writing some piece of code on your machine, and you are able to render a solution. For example, you can literally build a weather application, right? You can literally build a coffee shop application, right, where you can order a coffee and stuff like that. So even ideas like this at that point in time, at that early stage, seemed pretty revolutionary for me, because that was literally the first time I'm seeing coding having a practical implication, that you can actually see something. There's a visual representation of what you are building. There's a functionality of whatever you are writing being in action. So that empowered me, and that made me just learn more. That excitement that I got by just going through those videos and reading through the documentation, that just made me want to build more stuff, want to build more applications. So I think that excitement is something which any and every student should have if they want to do something in software or in general any industry. If you have that excitement to build, I think you'll eventually do something good.
Yes, and when you started learning about this open source application, about the apps that you want to build in Android, after that, what happened? How did you navigate? Because you have to manage your studies as well. But more than that, how did you navigated it with limited information around? Because abhi to GPT hai, right? Before that, with limited information, what was your mind map, or what was your thinking?
So of course, I think the internet always has been a blessing. Of course, even right now, you take the AIs of the world, the GPTs of the world. But back then, even a simple thing like Google, as simple as it might sound right now, Google search engine was a blessing during that point in time. And I happened to, use that blessing a lot, right? I happened to leverage that blessing a lot. So one thing that was pretty consistent about me, that I, was always hooked into looking up stuff. So even a term that came upon my screen that I don't know of, so I just, opened up a new tab, went on to Google and searched about it, read about it. Probably there would be, of course, today, probably Google's AI mode gives you a, direct answer. But during that time, like there were blogs and articles that would come up. So you open up that link and you go through that blog and, you understand about it.
You have to do your own research.
Absolutely. So definitely you'll have to do your own research, and that's, something that has, stuck with me ever since. So even today, even, whatever AI and the GPTs of the world have come into the picture, I like doing my own research. So probably, yeah, that's something which I picked up. Managing time, luckily, since I was from a government college, and we didn't have a very strict attendance policy, I didn't have to spend a lot of time, in learning something which I wasn't interested in, because, coming from a very traditional college, even in engineering, you have all these subjects like environmental studies, social sciences, the physics of the worlds and stuff like that, right? Which I felt that I don't need to learn, since that's not something I'm passionate about. I was passionate about building products, building software, building mobile applications. So I just wanted to focus my time into that.
Walk me through the processes that you went through to have the final outcome. First is research, then what you did, then what you did, then what you did, right? First
Sure.
you researched about things.
Yeah.
Then what was your core principle? What was your steps? Walk me through.
So as soon as I got to know about this, I did my own research, and then I listed out actionables for me. Of course, it's good to dream. It's good to sit and dream of what could be and what can be, but it's very important, to list out, what are the next steps. So probably the next step for me was to get a laptop. As simple as that, right? Because of course I was, looking up at all these videos and all these resources on my, mobile phone. I wanted a place where I can actually, execute what I'm seeing, what I'm learning. So I convinced my dad to get me a laptop, right? And this this was the time during 2018, and I come from a middle class family. So probably after a lot of convincing, we got a 4 GB HP Pavilion laptop, which was pretty cool during that point in time. But soon I came to know that it was probably falling behind the minimum prerequisites for something like Android development. So people who know about Android development, they know that the documentation says that you need to have a 8 GB RAM laptop with a good processor and stuff like that. But I took it as a challenge somehow. Since I got this laptop, and this was like literally the biggest thing for me at that point in time, I just wanted to do what I wanted to on whatever I have. I didn't care that I need the best laptop, I need this laptop which meets the prerequisites. I started doing stuff on what I have. So yeah, essentially I just took a internet connection, I took a Wi-Fi connection, and probably if I remember correctly, I even didn't actually take a Wi-Fi connection. So if I remember correctly, we had these prepaid
Dongles.
Yeah. So not even dongles, I'll tell you the funny story. So I used to recharge on my mobile SIM, these extra data packs that used to come, and I used to turn on my hotspot from my mobile, and that is how I, connected to the internet from my laptop. So yeah, that's essentially like probably the, simplest hack that I used. Like, of course, I didn't want to, invest into like taking a Wi-Fi connection and stuff like that. This was the easiest solution for me. So I started with that. I think it's very important to get started into anything you do. So that was how I started. I got the internet connection on my laptop. I downloaded this studio called the Android Studio, where you actually write code to build Android applications. So of course, like downloaded this piece of software and wrote my first Android application, which was essentially a birthday card application. Like literally that if you open that mobile app, it would wish you happy birthday. As simple as that. So yeah, like even if I remember, like once that first app was rendered on my phone, once I connected my device and ran the code, I hit run on the ID, the Android Studio, and this happy birthday application opened up on my phone, I was literally the happiest person on the planet. So I think that motivated me, and I actually saw the output on in my hands. Like I could see the tangible outcome sitting right there in my hand. So yeah, probably that kickstarted it. Thereon I started to build more and more applications. It was just pure obsession, I would say. Probably in a day I would build 4 to 5 applications, and these are simple applications, and trust me when I say, like, it's no joke running a Gradle build in a 4 GB laptop. So what used to happen was my laptop used to heat up. I used to write an entire app in one seating. I used to hit the run button, and it would take 1 to 2 hours, and I would have to probably finish up some of my daily course, outside, like take a shower and stuff like that. I would be finishing up all these courses, coming back and see the app, running on my phone. So probably that was an entire different, excitement or exciting time, if I can put it in that way. Even though it was very tedious, even though it asked a lot of energy from me, but I liked doing it. Yeah, I think since I liked doing it, it didn't feel much of a burden to me. So yeah, probably just that obsession which I developed during that point in time just got me into building stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially, as simple as that. I genuinely churned out bunch of small applications, bunch of small mobile apps, small use cases, probably as simple as, like, let's say a to-do application. So as simple apps like that, it just helped me kickstart my journey.
Was it cool in the college as well?
What I was doing was pretty alien to my peers, right? Because they genuinely didn't care about, or might not even know the possibility of what I was doing or what's the importance of it. I feel people didn't respect me the kind, like how I would like it. So I didn't even talk about it in my college, right? So it was just something which I personally liked, and I kept it very private. It was not something I talked a lot about in my college. Probably that one senior that I was talking about, who was building this tech club, that was the only person who I would probably go to and show my applications, right? I would say, hey, like, I built these 5 applications yesterday. How do you what do you think about it? So probably he, if I remember, he encouraged me. So probably that one motivation, that one point of motivation which you require to just take that next step forward was probably that person.
Got it. And after you started building this apps, right? What was the next step for you? How did you get to know about other things? Because right now I understand you might have been very fluent with codes, with the atmosphere around Android building, right? What was the next step that you took?
So it was like probably 2 months into my college. Thing for me was to, how do I put this out for the other like-minded people to see. Since, as I mentioned, right, like whatever I was doing was pretty alien to the peers around me sitting in the campus or in my classroom. I wanted this to be seen by other people who probably are like-minded. So how could I do that? That was my next challenge. So that is where I could relate open source with what I was doing. So now I could understand the link, the missing link between why you even need something like open source. So essentially I took that pathway, right? I just created a GitHub account. I just published whatever I was building. As simple as that. I just wanted people to see whatever I was building. So I created a GitHub account. I uploaded my apps which I was building and shared it across social media platforms. Like I even created a LinkedIn profile during that point in time. I shared it across in Reddit groups, Reddit pages. All I wanted was like-minded people to see my work, right? All I wanted was that even validate me, what I was doing, right? I think early validation or validation in general is something which people crave for at any point in their time. So I started getting some validation from the internet. People commented on my posts and they really encouraged me. Even I remember on Twitter I used to post a couple of small animations that I built on using a couple of animations that I built. Used to get likes and mentions from officially Google's team as well. So they used to repost my tweet, and that was like the biggest thing in the world. I would say, yeah, like getting that validation from the internet was definitely, one of the major, pieces of why I continue to do what I do. I got to understand the link between, building software locally and privately and open sourcing it and making it public. Why you even need to open source.
Yeah.
So I understood the need of it, and yeah, essentially things followed.
What happened after that? How did you got to know about the internship? How did you got to know about the program?
Right. So it was like around 2-3 months again down the line into my college, I got to know about something called an internship exists. So internship is essentially you work for a certain company and they pay you for what you are doing, right? Of course, it can be an unpaid gig as well, but essentially that's what an internship definition was back at that point in time, or at least that's what I was interested in. So I started searching for internships. Right.
This is in the first year of your college?
Yeah, this is in the first semester. This is like 3 months, into my college. This is not even like the first semester has not even completed. So 3 months into my college, I'm searching for internships. I came across these platforms like Internshala, Let's Intern, and stuff like that. So I was just looking for internships. I didn't care about the stipend amounts, right? I just wanted that, first break, right, into the industry. I wanted to, see how the industry works or how real, engineers work and stuff like that, how real teams work. So I just wanted to get an idea of that. I got my first internship via Internshala itself. So it was, 10,000 rupees per month, gig, right, as simple as that. And I didn't even care about the, amount at that point in time. I just wanted that first break. I just wanted that first piece of experience on my LinkedIn profile. As simple as that. So I took that up. I did it for around 3 months. It was a 3 months internship. I didn't happen to get paid anything. So that was a very tragic point because of course it was. So I didn't know the kind of culture like these companies were having. I didn't know how to segregate.
So you were not paid.
Yeah.
You worked for 3 months.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you were not paid.
Yeah, that's correct. So I was told that I would receive the stipend collectively after 3 months. I ended up believing that statement, and I just worked my ass off, and like, since of course I was loving what I was doing. But yeah, of course there was an expectancy at the end of my mind that okay, I'll receive some money from it, right, and I'll probably spend it, something like this. Like there was some expectation associated with what I was doing. So of course it was a heartbreak when probably after 3 months I didn't receive anything, and they just blocked me off, and eventually I understood that they scammed me and stuff like that, right? And apparently that was a thing going on during that point in time, that a lot of these kind of small scale companies were exploiting students, right, by opening up these fake internship paid internship posts, and like sort of asking people to intern with them, and rolling out offer letters and stuff like that, and just getting work done and not paying them and blocking them off. So that was a thing. But yeah, like I took it like head on, like it is what it is. I just like I took all the learnings. It really gave me a good exposure in terms of how actual teams work, right, or how probably it is to work under someone, because I think that's something which we don't realize or get an experience of early on, how it is to work under someone, because we are like being students, we are generally very free to do what we want, right? We can literally do whatever our heart wishes, or whatever we want to do. But when you are being told to do something, like this is what needs to be done, you do this, like this is the task item that needs to be completed and stuff like that. I think these are the kind of small things which I took away from that experience. But yeah, like I essentially moved on from there. Like of course it took some time, but while I was doing this internship, what I didn't leave out doing was doing my own research,
looking for opportunities.
Exactly. So I kept on looking for opportunities while I was, under this internship. So one of such opportunity that I stumbled upon was the Google Summer of Code, right? Essentially, since I was already into open source, I understood the need of open source and, why anyone should even, be involved into something like open source. I was just obsessed about open source in general, right? I was not really doing it for any kind of money because of course open source doesn't pay you anything. You just literally, either you are building your own software or you're contributing to someone else's software. So I stumbled upon this program. I really liked their branding, right? I felt that, something like this can probably, give me some recognition, because I saw the community around Google Summer of Code. So Google Summer of Code is essentially nothing but program by Google to encourage more new contributors into open source, right? As simple as that. It's not a competition. It's not an examination. It is just a mentorship program, right? Where probably the best open source developers from the community will mentor you, right, into building good software for the open source again. So it's essentially a cyclic process where you are being mentored by someone to build good software. Probably the next year you will mentor someone to build good software, right? So that's how the open source community grows in general. So that essentially what Google Summer of Code was and is as well. So I thought that this was really a great opportunity for me to even work with people outside of India, because open source, as I already told, right, like you can be sitting anywhere in the world, right, and work together, right? So that's the beauty of open source. So I wanted to explore that. I wanted to see what it feels to be like in this Google Summer of Code community, right? Because I kept on seeing posts from people on LinkedIn, on Twitter, that how Google Summer of Code changed their lives, right? Like they have cracked some opportunities that they even didn't think of, right? Even I remember during that point in time, getting into Google Summer of Code meant a direct referral to Google, right? So if you pass the evaluations of Google Summer of Code, you would actually get a direct referral to Google for a software engineer role, right? You could actually interview for a software engineer. It didn't mean that you could actually directly get that job. You still have to crack that interview, where you'll be getting. So yeah, like I felt the perks were amazing. To be very honest, like of course the perks were an attraction. And of course like Google's brand being associated with that, but more importantly since I was obsessed about open source in general, right, be it publicizing my own software or contributing to some other software, I just felt that it was a really good opportunity. So while I was doing this internship, I was also contributing to a lot of projects of other organizations, right? So like Google Summer of Code's website has this organization archive where all the past organizations are listed out. So I just randomly went on there. I just filtered by my tech stacks or my domains, projects and organizations which have projects of my tech stack or the tech stack I am skilled in. So I just filtered them out and I just started contributing to different projects. I was not really a person who was very dedicated into one organization or one project. I just liked the idea of contributing to various projects in the open source community.
Does Google Summer of Code paying you something?
Yeah, so Google Summer of Code has a stipend, right? It's just to incentivize you for doing good work, right, in the open source community. Trust me, like there are millions of developers who do a lot for the open source community in general, but it's just a Google's way of recognition that you have been doing good work. So yeah, like whatever work you are doing under Google Summer of Code, Google pays a stipend for you, like stipend to you, and
But there is no specific amount to that.
There's a specific amount, right? Like this amount keeps on changing. Like you can, check for the exact amount on the official documentation. Back then, I think it was around $3,000, right? When I did Google Summer of Code. Right now, probably it has been reduced, but yeah, like of course, but my primary reason to, even try to get into something like Google Summer of Code was primarily to, learn working with international teams, right? Because I was already, as I mentioned, I was already contributing to a lot of open source software by different organizations, and Google Summer of Code just happened to align with whatever I was doing. It was not something that I had to, put efforts separately, that it was something that I wanted to do outside of what I was doing and had to put very, very specific efforts into that direction. It just happened to align with what I was doing. I was, contributing very obsessively into, software by different companies, different organizations. And yeah, like essentially that's exactly what I was doing, in parallel while I was doing my internship.
Yeah, and how did this help you? What did you do after knowing about GSoC?
Right. So of course, after I came to know about Google Summer of Code and I went through their, organization archive, I just, tried to look for a organization or a project. So, after, going through the list of organizations that the GSoC archive website has, I just, stumbled upon this organization called FOSS-Asia. FOSS-Asia had a bunch of projects, like, it was probably the biggest open source organization from Asia at least, right? If not, around the world. It had a very, slim selection, criteria for, GSoC students. Let me put it that way, right? They had a lot of, filtering criteria. There are a lot of filtering criteria of what kind of developers they wanted, for GSoC or during GSoC. They only, they only sort of accepted students from premier colleges, right, from tier 1 colleges. But that didn't demotivate me, right? As I mentioned, that since I was not really doing it for, having the best chance to get into something like Google Summer of Code, of course I liked the perks, of course I really wanted it, but it just happened to align with what I was doing. So I really liked one of FOSS-Asia's project ideas, and I was just contributing to it obsessively, right? I just wanted that. So the idea was entirely, building a software from scratch. So it was a great opportunity for me. So I set up, probably the entire project, the entire first version. I already built it, even probably before getting accepted into something like Google Summer of Code, right? So I already did the major work, before even I knew that FOSS-Asia was actually accepted as a GSoC org, right? And they were, listed on the website. So I was just working, like, just to make sure that I'm able to, get this software out, or, being able to complete this, right? But yeah, like I was pretty obsessive in terms of, how I contributed during probably 1 to 2 months into my first semester. Eventually the GSoC application period opened up. One of the project admins, encouraged me to actually apply, because I was, again, like when the GSoC application period came in, or the window opened up for the GSoC application period, I was not really sure if FOSS-Asia was somewhere I wanted to apply for, because as I mentioned, like, the chances were pretty slim for a person like me, like coming from a tier 3 college. And like, trust me, there were people, like students from across the country, across the world, and especially from India, like there were IITians, like, contributing to, every FOSS-Asia's project, right? Because it was one of the prestigious open source organizations, right? Like if you are doing Google Summer of Code with FOSS-Asia, it's like the biggest thing in the world, right?
So there were people from tier 1 colleges, from the top of the University of Asia at least. Absolutely.
So there were, like, the best folks from the top tier colleges, right? Like talk about the top IITs, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, IIT Roorkee, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. So there were students from across the top IITs, top tier colleges. And apparently if I applied, my application would also fall along with them. So the chances were pretty, slim, and the odds were against me, right? Uh, but since I wasn't doing it for getting accepted anyways, I just, listened to my mentor and the project admin who I was working with very closely and applied like anyway.
How did you prepare for that? Uske baad?
So essentially, how a GSoC timeline or a GSoC process looks like was, of course you contribute. That's the, very first step. You find a project that, interests you. I think it's very important. And I was pretty lucky that I found a project that I really loved, right? I really understood what I was doing or what that project was all about. So probably that's the first step, like you find a project like that. Secondly, of course, you contribute. Thirdly, it's basically you write a proposal that, if you get accepted into something like GSoC, what will you do, right? What are the timelines you're looking at? What all the ideas you want to build upon? So you write it in a proposal format. You write it in a proposal format, and yeah, essentially you submit it on Google Summer of Codes portal, right? And that's it. There is literally no preparation needed or nothing, rocket science behind this. It's as simple as that. Like you like a project, you contribute to it. The GSoC timelines align with you, and you apply to it, right? You want to, work further on that project. You're obsessed about that project, and that's probably the only criteria and the only, prerequisite, if I can put it in that way. Yeah. So
it's mainly an intent-driven thing.
absolutely. It's so the intent has to be there, right? If you are, contributing to any project, you should be in love with that project. Ideally, the best case scenario would be that you are a user of that project. So think about software like VS Code. So VS Code is open source, right? Think about something like a Google Chrome, a browser. So the code for Google Chrome is open source, right? So if you really like Google Chrome, if you really like VS Code, right, as a user, probably there are more chances that you would love contributing to it, that you would love to build on top of it. You would want to build that one feature that you always were thinking of in Google Chrome, probably that bookmark feature, probably that history feature, whatever that might be, right? If it doesn't exist, you love the product, you will end up probably contributing to it. So all of this process, like all of these open source contributions, all of these obsessive nights on this Fossacious project, I was working on while I was also parallel doing this internship, right? And trust me, there were times where time management was a real big issue, because of course there were three things that I was involved in. One being my college, second being my this internship, and third being the open source contributions I was doing, and that too on a 4 GB laptop. All of this on like heavy loading being done on a 4 GB HP Pavilion. It was difficult, but I would say if you are really obsessed about something, you would find time to do it. Like that's something I take away from that journey of my life, because it didn't feel like work to me. Of course, like the people around me, especially my parents, thought I was overworking myself and what the hell I was doing around that point in time. But it didn't feel like much work to me. I really liked what I was doing. So yeah, like I was about to be done with this internship I was doing. Like 3 months went by, and the stipend was about to come, which I was promised that it would come as a collective amount. It never arrived, right? I eventually found out that I was somehow scammed, and that was a thing going on in the ecosystem. Like companies used to open up these fake internship posts, get work done by students and exploited them in various ways. I was like really heartbroken at that point in time, right? Apparently the Google Summer of Code results were also about to arrive in the next couple of weeks, right? When, I got to know that I won't receive any money for all the work that I've been doing over the past 3 months, I was really not sure of whatever I was doing was right at that point in time, right? Probably I should have considered doing something else or exploring some other domain, as a whole. But I had, high hopes, right? I had this stubborn hope that, something good is about to happen, right? So I, even though, open source is something which I love doing and I was, continuing to do at that point in time, but this event that, after working for someone or after, doing so much hard work and you're not getting rewarded for it, it kind of increased my expectations from, when the Google Summer of Code results would be announced. So let me put it in this way, that I really wanted to be accepted into Google Summer of Code, right? Having this one big heartbreak and like being shaken, totally, like, doing all this work and not being paid and stuff like that. I was eagerly waiting for the day to come when the GSoC results would be announced. Having that, big event where, I was kind of scammed, with my work, with the efforts I put in, I really wanted this very bad. So I was, probably awake the whole night, right? I was, literally, refreshing my inbox, and seeing like whether that mail had arrived. I was already prepared that, probably it would be a rejection mail, because like, who am I kidding? Like, I applied to Force Asia, like, where probably, thousands of better proposals would, land to their, inbox. So I was refreshing my, email inbox and like just wanted to just see whatever that result was. Even if it was a rejection, I was just fine with it. Like, but I was just, pretty crazy about, just getting to see that email, right? But yeah, that mail never arrived, at night. Apparently, the time was probably like the US timings and the India timings were completely opposite. So it was supposed to arrive very, very early morning, around 4 a.m. or something in terms of Indian standard time. So I happened to fall asleep, right? Like while refreshing, like, being awake, and, opened up my laptop on my bed and like tried, getting the inbox refreshed every, 2 minutes. I fell asleep, woke up the next day, like I didn't know what to think of, like nothing came to my mind. I just again like unlocked my laptop, unlocked my, phone, which I was having during that point in time. And I just saw this, subject, right? You are accepted, right? And that was the first thing that I, saw in the morning, on my, mobile phone. And I didn't even care to open that email and see like what all content was there written inside that. I just literally rushed to my mother and, even though she didn't knew what this Google Summer of Code is all about, I just informed that, something good has happened, right? So that was a pretty emotional moment in my life, and I still remember that day to the every minute detail, right? And yeah, like, we hugged each other, and like, emotions, started, flowing. And yeah, that was probably, one of the, biggest events till date, like in my life, that's for sure.
What is your key learning from all this phase, and how did your GSoC internship went? So you need to walk me through what was in that internship as well.
For sure. So once, the Google Summer of Code period began, right? Once, the first month came in, like where I was officially a Google Summer of Code student, and I had to work with my mentor, on this project that I was already working on. So of course, like, it was not very difficult for me, because this was something which I was already working on. I was pretty obsessed about this product. I was pretty obsessed about, how I want this to be, out live in the public. So this is not an internship program, right? I'll be very clear about it. This is essentially you're working with a mentor, you're working with a senior developer from a particular organization into building something, right? As simple as that, right? So yeah, like literally this month started on. I started working, on bunch of features which I had mentioned in my proposal, right? So whatever you have mentioned in your proposal, you have to try to meet those deliverables, right? So that's essentially what's expected out of you. I started working on those timelines and whatever I had mentioned in my proposal, and yeah, like essentially worked with my mentor, worked with my the entire community. So one thing which I was also very aggressively doing was helping out other people in the community, right? I think there were a lot of new developers who wanted to contribute, and this community culture is something which helped me, so I wanted to give back, right? So even while during my own GSoC period, while I was contributing, while I was building on this project, I was also helping out a lot of other people, right? So yeah, like essentially it was just 3 months of doing what I was already doing, but with more passion, and of course with the Google Summer of Code tag, right?
And the stipend attached to it.
Absolutely. The stipend attached to it, the brand attached to it, just gives it a little bit more sweetness. But yeah, I would say the fundamental and the core part of it remains exactly the same, which is you are literally continuing your work, what you were doing before getting accepted into it, but probably with much more stricter timelines and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you did it twice.
Yeah. So this was the story of my first Google Summer of Code acceptance. I also happened to do it the next year as well, right? But with a different organization. So yeah, like probably since, so again, I didn't really want to do it twice. It was just that I was constantly contributing to open source.
Yeah.
And since I always like to contribute to multiple projects, different organizations, I wasn't really a person that would stick to one thing and like don't explore other projects or ideas. I just wanted to work with different kinds of people, right? So since I was a person of that nature, so it just again happened to align with me. So I again got accepted into GSoC with another organization where I worked with some other mentors and worked on a different piece of software altogether. So yeah, happened to do it successively twice.
What is your key learning for someone who is trying to get into GSoC?
So if someone wants to get accepted into something like a Google Summer of Code, probably one thing I would only suggest is be very passionate on that one project that you want to build on, right? Find that project. So I would say probably there are no process or no steps to do anything. I won't give a roadmap here to achieve something like a Google Summer of Code, because it's not a thing to achieve. It just happens to align with whatever you are doing. If you are already doing good work, probably there are more chances that people will recognize you for that. But the only key thing that I would say is find that one project that you love, that you adore absolutely, and just be obsessive about that, right? Just keep contributing to it. Be super active in the community, help out people around you, because trust me, this is not a competition. Open source is all about collaboration, because if collaboration didn't exist, probably open source wouldn't exist. So just try to be as collaborative as you can. Try to help out as many people as you can, right? Be super active in your community. And yeah, just be obsessive about that one project that you want to build.
Do you think coming from a tier 3 college or having that tag is a hindrance in this, or it doesn't really matter where you come from?
So I think the beauty about open source is that it doesn't matter where you come from, right? You can literally be sitting in one of, the remote areas in India and still work with probably someone sitting in Silicon Valley in the US. So that's the beauty of open source,
Puts you on
right?
the same page.
Absolutely. So if you just probably have an internet connection and like have a laptop, like you're literally good to go, right? So no prerequisites, no tags, no eligibility criteria as such. Uh, you are obsessive about building software. You have an internet connection. You have a laptop. Just go out there.